I think it's time we talked about the pipeline survey job.
We could talk about that. It could also be folded into a greater discussion about terrible jobs we've taken and how much we expected our employers to look out for us, which we have learned over 20 years is almost certainly never the case.
Yes. Really quick recap. I enlisted in the military in 2004. I got out of the military in 2009. 2009 through 2013, I was going to college for technical writing. My dream job was to get a job teaching or writing about small arms repair, writing for a gun magazine, something along those lines.
You wanted to combine your two interests of writing and also fixating on guns.
Yes. So I was going to college for technical writing, and then one day, one of the people I knew in the military gets a hold of me and says, hey, I am now teaching small arms repair to the U.S. military as a civilian at Fort Lee in Virginia. Mm-hmm. I was like, well, hell yeah, that sounds awesome. How do I get that gig? So I applied. I got the job almost immediately. It paid $27 an hour.
Quite nice, I think.
Yeah.
This didn't require a degree.
Nope, didn't require a degree. They offered me the job like immediately, so I dropped out of college my last year. I had barely started my last year of college. I was like maybe 2 weeks in. Mm-hmm. Dropped out of college. Dropped everything, moved to Virginia, started teaching small arms repair.
Since you had already started that semester, did you get your money back?
No.
You spent an entire year's tuition and didn't attend.
No, just an entire semester's tuition.
Still a lot.
Yeah. Also, it wasn't my money, it was the GI Bill's money.
Well, it's easier to throw that away then.
But I had to pay that back. So, yeah, that's one of the reasons that I still have student loans now, is because I have to pay that back.
The semester you didn't attend.
I dropped out, yeah. Dropped out, moved to Virginia. Long story short, basically Congress deemed a bunch of budget cuts had to happen, and they reduced the amount of civilian contractors there were.
And you were unfortunately one of the ones were cut.
And I was one of the ones that got cut. So, 2014, I find myself living in Virginia, separate from literally everyone I've ever known. Mm. I have one friend in Virginia who now has moved somewhere else because he also lost a job teaching small arms repair. So back down to 0 friends in Virginia. Effectively became homeless.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I had like nothing. I couldn't afford to pay rent because I had lost my job. So I rented a U-Haul truck and then just lived in the back of that.
I wasn't aware of this part. How long did that last?
2 weeks.
Okay. Not terrible, but still, living out of the back of a U-Haul.
Yeah, this is one of the ways that I discovered that if you want hot food and you're homeless, what you can do is just take your car battery and then go buy a crock pot from Goodwill for like $5, and then just snip the electrical plug on the back of the crock pot, strip the 2 wires, and then attach them to the car battery, and it heats the crock pot up.
Okay.
So that's how you can make hot food if all you have is a car battery and a crock pot.
Why did you never tell me about this? Why were you suffering in silence?
Because I was embarrassed. Anyway, one of my friends from high school got a hold of me. We were talking about something, and he basically was like, yeah, I got this job doing pipeline survey. It's really great. Right now they have me working on a bridge.
Yeah, does a pipeline cross the bridge?
No, the job was a cathodic protection job. We refer to it as the pipeline survey job because that's better than a cathodic protection installation job. And what they were doing is using this thing that's like a combination of an arc welder and a spray paint gun to literally metallize and spray zinc in patches onto the concrete that you then wire to the rebar inside of the concrete so that rusts instead of the rebar inside. Because when the rebar inside starts rusting, it starts causing spalling, which means that the concrete cracks and starts fragmenting all over the place.
It obviously compromises the integrity of the bridge.
Basically, what he was doing was adding like 25 to 30 years of life to this concrete.
He was spray painting metal on the bridge so that the spray painted metal rusts.
Yes, exactly. Anyway, he's like, yeah, it's a great job. It's paying like $30 an hour, and you're getting prevailing wage, and you're getting Minnesota painters' wages. It was paying a stupid amount of money to do this job. And he was like, it's great. I'm basically the only person out here. I don't have to, like, report to other people.
No one's breathing down your back.
Nobody's breathing down your back. You get to spend all day outside.
Oh,
it's
so
like,
nice.
It's hard work, but it's great. I was like, man, that sounds awesome. And he basically said, we need another person. So do you want to do this? And I'm like, yeah, I don't have a job.
I don't have a college
house.
degree. I'm homeless. Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, fine. I'll fucking do it. Because at this point, what I was waiting on while I was still living in Virginia is I was waiting on my Merchant Mariner credential and my TWIC card, which is Transportation Workers Identification Credential, so that I could get a job working on a tugboat.
If things had changed a little differently, if time had run its course a little differently, you could have been operating a tugboat?
Yeah, I would have moved to Norfolk, Virginia, and been working on a tugboat, and by now I probably would have been a tugboat captain. Well, because I have a high degree of mechanical inclination, and I was like, working on a tugboat might be kind of cool. I found the phone number of a tugboat place, and I called them, and I was like, yo, do you need any workers? And they're like, what can you do? Well, I can fix small engines, I can kind of work on diesel engines, I know how to work on hydraulic systems, and they're like, yeah, we can use another engineer, just get this stuff and then get back to us. But because unfortunately, it ended up taking like 4 months for me to get my Merchant Mariner credential. So I would have been homeless for quite a while in Virginia before I actually... Anyway.
You took the pipeline job instead.
Took the Cathodic protection job instead. What it originally was 2 weeks on, 1 week off.
Okay.
That was the original schedule. I would work for 2 weeks, and then I would have an entire week off. And then go back to work for 2 weeks, and then have an entire week off.
Okay.
And, it was great at first. When I showed up there to do this pipeline survey job, I had, my steel-toed boots. I did have to go get some other boots because the steel-toed boots I was wearing were literally steel-toed combat boots, and they were the jungle combat boots.
Yeah.
If you've never been to a bunch of construction sites, usually they are very wet and very muddy because you're moving a lot of heavy equipment around that's just churning up the ground.
No grass to absorb it.
I almost kind of got trench foot the first couple days, but, whatever. It's fine.
A story for another day.
Story for another time. You know bobcats? The little bucket loader things?
Okay.
They're generally called skid steer or a bobcat or whatever. You can call them whatever you want. Anyway, we had one of those, but it didn't have a cockpit. You would stand behind it and walk behind it as it moved itself along.
Okay.
So it's basically like a lawnmower, only with tracks.
Okay.
And a little lift thing on the front. We named it Sheila.
Okay.
Because it had tank treads. There were multiple points where, we would have to drive it through water that was almost knee-deep, so we would sit on the top of it and reach behind us to operate the controls, because OSHA's nowhere around, so what do they care?
So the thing would be basically submerged?
Pretty much, yeah. Just this little tiny diesel-powered thing is just going... just wading through mud, because it's got a snorkel, so it can breathe.
I didn't realize you were doing construction on Atlantis.
Because this was a bridge and it was going over effectively swampland, there were several parts where the mud was quite deep. Mm-hmm. So, starting out, the job was great. I had, zero complaints about it. It went incredibly well. I enjoyed doing it. It was good.
That bridge assignment lasted about a month?
Yeah, I think it was about a month. And then it was on to other jobs. And then that is when it started getting into the survey portion of the job.
Working with actual pipelines.
Yeah. So what this job would entail is we had to apply the same cathodic protection systems to other pipelines. And a lot of it either involved just doing the standard anodes where you basically just slap a chunk of zinc onto the pipeline, or installing rectifiers, which is a thing that converts alternating current into direct current. And the way a rectifier cathodic protection system works, it doesn't matter. Nobody cares.
It's all very complex.
Basically, you take a thing that converts AC current to DC current, and it pumps electricity into the pipeline, which makes it last longer. Somehow. I don't fully know. But anyway, I did a lot of work in the Rust Belt area of the United States.
How ironic.
Now what the job entails is either getting readings on a pipeline to see what condition it's in, or directly installing cathodic protection systems.
And as I remember, the measurement portion generally consisted of taking some kind of rod and marching around with that, trying to follow it.
You had these two things that looked like ski poles. They had little sensors in them, and you had to pour liquid in them for some reason. I forget exactly why. I don't fully understand how it worked. Basically, you would hook a current up to the pipeline. It would make the pipeline emit a frequency that you would use this rod thing to locate where the pipeline is.
You basically had a metal detector that not only detected the pipeline, but also told you how much charge it had to make sure it was in good condition.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Something along those lines. So, you had this thing that you would attach to your chest on like a weird harness system. Basically like a freaking graphing calculator that was slightly more advanced.
Yeah.
That you would connect that to these 2 ski poles that you had, and you would walk on top of roughly where the pipeline is, and every time you stuck one of the ski poles into the ground, you would push the button on top of it, and it would go beep, and it would measure the current coming off the pipeline, or whatever. You have to have basically a contact point with the soil to do it. So if the pipeline goes under a road, or a driveway,
Or a pond, or a lake.
if it's a short distance, whatever. If it's a lake, you can't really go through the lake. I remember doing one job that I don't think you were here for just yet, but this pipeline went all over the place under like a mall parking lot.
Oh my.
So every 6 feet, we had to take a drill and drill through the asphalt of the parking lot, and then pour water into the hole so that we could get a reading off of the pipeline. So basically what it turned into was me or somebody else walking along with the measurement system, going beep, 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 beep every like 6 feet to take a measurement. Someone else drilling holes in the concrete 3 feet apart from each other every 6 feet.
This sounds ridiculous.
And then someone else pouring water in the holes with a bottle of water before you would get up to it so that you could take a measurement on it.
This mall was still intact, right? It was.
Yeah, it was still a functioning mall. So we're doing this, and there's like, you have a belt that you have to wear with a pouch on the back of it that carries like 2 miles of copper wiring.
Yes, because the way this works is you have to be connected to the pipe to measure it.
Yes. And it's all very, very low voltage. You don't have to worry about it.
No, I never got shocked by it or anything.
I did, but we'll get into that in a minute.
Okay.
So when you get done surveying a thing, you have to go pick up all this copper wiring. And the copper wiring is very thin. It's about the thickness of a human hair. But it's like miles of this copper wiring, because you would do sections like a mile long in between where the survey points are. The survey points are like a mile long. So you got to go back and pick up all that copper wire. Also, this copper wire, because it's so thin, there were multiple times where we would have to cross a road, and then a car would drive across that copper wire. The copper wire would immediately snap. Or my personal favorite one, where the copper wire would get wrapped around the axle of the car, and the car would just pull all like 2 miles of your copper wire. So you're just walking along, and suddenly you like stop for a second, and it's really quiet, and you hear... You're like, what is that noise? And you look behind you and see the copper wires going...
Shooting out.
shooting out of your pack, and you're like, oh, fuck, so then you gotta snap it off. You don't have to worry about it getting wrapped around your hand or anything. There's no danger in it. It just means that now you have like 2 hours of work. You have to go back, find where the wire snapped. It just sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, the survey portion, honestly, for as much as we complain about it, it wasn't that bad.
You were walking around holding ski poles for hours. It's really easy work for decent pay.
For decent pay, and most of the time, you're outside. And it's generally relatively nice out, because you can't do this job in the winter or the rain.
If it's a rainy day, congratulations, you're getting paid to stay indoors.
Pretty much, yeah. The other part of the job was inspecting cathodic protection systems that had already been installed or had been there before. So basically, you would have to go up to one of these rectifiers, this thing that's converting AC current to DC current. You would have to go up to this thing and take measurements off of it. That is how I accidentally took 750 milliamps directly across the chest. What I did is I went up to a rectifier to get readings off of it. Normally what you do is you hold the multimeter in one hand, you take the little alligator clip that's attached to the multimeter, and you go clip, and clip one wire on, clip the second wire on.
Yep.
All while only ever putting one hand onto the thing. What I did, because I was in a hurry and impatient, is I walked up with the positive and negative wires in my right and left hand and went boop and put both of them on at the same time. Because I didn't even think about it. Did not even think about it at all. Put them on there, and the moment I attached them, my hands went numb.
Yep.
And my chest hurt really bad. And I went, ow, that really hurts. It was for such a imperceptibly short period of time. I immediately had to like sit down, and I'm just like, oh, I feel sick.
You just
like,
got electrocuted.
My whole chest hurt really bad. And shortly after doing this, I could feel and kind of hear my heartbeat going, doo-doo-doo, doo,
Not great.
So it was 750 milliamps, which is the point that can cause severe heart palpitations, possible heart failure, extreme pain.
Oh, you felt that.
Hell yeah, I felt all those things because my heart didn't want to run correctly. So when you take that many milliamps of direct current, it's basically overriding the signal going from your brain to your heart, telling it how to beat.
Yeah, I had to figure it back out a couple seconds.
Yeah, so it took a minute of my heart going, oh God, what the fuck? Ah! I basically spent the rest of the day feeling like absolute dog shit and feeling like I wanted to throw up.
I believe that. I've hit myself with AC current before. It wasn't pleasant, but I moved on pretty quickly. DC current, I wouldn't want to mess with that.
The way I described it when I was working this job is alternating current lets you know you fucked up. Direct current grabs onto you and doesn't fucking let go until you are dead. Luckily, it was such a low amperage that it didn't just fucking kill me.
Yes, that could have happened.
This is also how I realized that people just won't fucking do something if there isn't a law about it.
Probably, yeah.
And by people, I mean companies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, for example, they called us out to do a survey on a pipeline. This pipeline went under a metro system, like a electric-powered train.
Okay.
And we're doing surveys on this pipeline. I forget what the exact numbers were. It doesn't matter. Let's just say that the numbers are supposed to be within 0.1 to 0.4.
Okay.
That's where the numbers should be.
Mm-hmm.
Every single time a train would pass over this pipeline, the current was spiking to like 6.4 or like 8.5. And like this pipeline is not designed to have that much current going through it. Mm-hmm. This pipeline, it can maybe handle 1 volt going through it.
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah, do a survey on this pipeline. And we come back with these results of, yeah, this pipeline might fucking explode.
Yeah.
You need to like get this looked at. Well, can you install one that'll just absorb the current? No!
No, we can't.
You need to replace this whole fucking pipeline. Oh, okay. Well, we'll put it in the budgetary meeting. What do you mean? It's gonna fucking blow up! There would be times we would show up and some crotchety 60-year-old guy would be like, yeah, go fix this pipeline. We're not supposed to fix it. We're just like looking at it.
Yeah.
We're just supposed to look at the pipeline. Well, I don't know where it is. Here's the charts of where all the pipelines are. This was done in 1920. How do you not know where your own pipelines are going?
They've got like a state map, but it's like the old kind of state maps where like the state of Michigan is like smashed and smushed.
Yeah, it's a state map from like the 1800s.
Back when Lewis and Clark were mapping it out.
I am not joking. There were legitimately points where we showed up to do a survey on a pipeline, and the last time a survey had been done was 1960-something. Mm. That was because that was the last time that the federal government said, hey, you probably want to check your pipelines. It was baffling to me that, like, our infrastructure could be that completely fucked.
It is. Yeah.
It's so screwed. Like, there's places where natural gas is being delivered to houses. The natural gas pipeline is still made out of fucking lead. We can't get a reading off the pipeline. Mm. And it's metal. It's a metal pipeline, so it's just a lead pipeline.
Something, yeah.
There were a lot of places that, to their credit, they were like, yeah, we need you to get a reading off this pipeline so that we can replace it with plastic because, like, we cannot have it be made out of metal.
Mm-hmm. So there are some people that are responsible.
There are some companies that are actually being somewhat responsible about it.
Sometimes their feet are being held to the fire.
We did run into some very interesting things. There was one time we got shot at while we were doing this. To clarify, we didn't get shot at because we were doing this. We got shot at because we were on the back of somebody's property and they didn't know we were back there, and so they were shooting.
They were just shooting...
They were shooting something, but we heard several bullets snap and bullets hitting sticks, and we went, yeah, we're done doing the survey in this part, and basically booked it like a quarter mile in a different direction until we got away from that area and then started doing the survey again. Mm-hmm. It was kind of funny because I remember putting on the notes of that section, survey canceled because bullets. So it's just like, survey stopped due to bullets, survey started because no bullets.
There you go.
Because we're doing this in the middle of the daytime, the only people that are home are people who work third shift, and they're asleep, so they don't care. Mm. Like stay-at-home parents or retired people. Mm-hmm. Retired people are bored and have nothing to do except come outside and try to waste your time.
Yeah, I can't help but notice you're in my backyard.
What are you doing in my backyard?
Oh, you're doing a pipeline survey. Interesting. Tell me, how long you been doing this?
How long have you been doing this? Where are you from? Oh, that's disappointing. Let me tell you about my son. My son used to work for the Navy.
Oh, you're from this state? What do you think about football team from that state?
So there were points where we would just get stuck talking to people for 30, 45 minutes because he's got nothing to do and his kids never call him anymore and he just wants to ask you about things.
It sounds annoying, but you're still getting paid hourly.
But then there are times where it's just like, I just want to get done with the survey. There's only a quarter mile left in the survey. Leave me alone so I can get finished. When I was working with this other guy, there were points where we would literally just be like, there's a guy standing outside, go on up ahead, start talking to him so I could just book it through here.
Yeah.
So I remember at one point we were walking along, I'm going through someone's yard, and they come outside. What are you doing? It's okay, man. I'm just doing I'm doing a survey of the pipeline that's here. There's no pipeline there. Yes, there is. I'm connected to it right now. I can tell you there isn't a fucking pipeline there. Yes, there is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be out of here in just a second. If you don't get off my property, I'm calling the sheriff. You know, if you hadn't said anything to me, I'd already be gone.
Yeah.
If you literally had said nothing to me, I would be out of your yard by now.
There'd still be a copper wire going through your lawn, but it's so thin you wouldn't even notice.
She wouldn't have even seen it there. So I ended up getting in like a yelling match with this woman for about 20 minutes because I just wanted to get off her property. Mm-hmm. But she wouldn't stop yelling at me and getting in my face.
I've met people like that. People that think they own the sidewalk in front of their house.
Yeah, they don't. The city owns it. Mm-hmm. But you still have to plow it for some reason.
Depending on where you live, yes.
Yeah. I discovered that the easiest thing to do, I would look up who the utility provider was for that area. I would just be walking through an area. What are you doing? I'm with Edison Electric. Oh, okay.
Yeah, leave you alone.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're describing a lot of minor annoyances, except from being electrocuted and shot at.
Yeah, I mean, those are little minor annoyances, but the job itself wasn't terrible. It was enjoyable. And then it kind of went from like 2 weeks on, 1 week off, to like 3 weeks on, 1 week off.
Okay, they asked for a little bit more work from you.
Okay,
so,
fine.
Yeah, 3 out of the 4 weeks of a month you work, and then you spend a week at home. Fine,
yeah.
that seems fair.
Okay, fine. That's still okay. And you were working like temp jobs at the time, weren't you?
Probably, yeah. So you upsold this to me. You told me it was a good job.
It was. To be fair, it was.
I joined you, and we did this job. Sure enough, it seems fairly easy. I think our daily schedule was that we would wake up, make sure our gear was in order. We'd go down to a Denny's or a local restaurant. We'd use the daily stipend they gave us to eat some breakfast. Mm-hmm. And then we'd go out into the field, work for 8 to 10 hours, then go back for dinner. And then it would be 7 o'clock, and we'd have the evening to ourselves. Except you, with your brand new promotion, who had to do an extra 2 hours of paperwork. So you basically were working from when you woke up to when you went to bed.
Yes.
And you talked about how you were working for 2 or 3 weeks, and then you'd have a week off. But when I was there, you were scheduled for 5 weeks on and 1 week off.
Yeah. I had been working for over a month without a break. When their job originally started, it was hourly pay, which was pretty good. Mm-hmm. You had to save money because in the winter, you weren't getting paid because you weren't working.
Right.
The people that were in charge of the company decided, we're going to do salary. Because that way, no, don't, hang on, let us explain. We're going to do salary because that way, we'll bank all of your overtime hours, and then you can get paid in the winter with all of your overtime hours. Mm-hmm. Okay, what's going to be my hourly pay rate? Well, it's $15 an hour, but you're going to be getting paid time and a half on overtime. And you guys work a lot of overtime. You work a lot of overtime.
I can't believe they actually sold you on the idea of going from hourly to salary by saying, if you let us pay you less now, we promise to pay you for the months you're not working. How naive were we?
I mean, it was a smaller company. I thought he was going to do it. All this stuff is going on. I'm working way more than I want to work.
Yeah.
The boss of the company lived to work.
Yeah.
I wanted to work to live. Mm-hmm. I did not want to live to work.
Yeah, his job was his business. It was his life.
It was his entire life.
It was basically his legacy.
Did he say that?
I know.
Oh, okay. Well,
He acted like it was, though.
Yeah.
He was so dedicated to it.
he was very, very dedicated to his job.
So it started off with your friend, and he invited you.
Yes.
And then you invited me. So it was the three of us, and the boss, and the supervisor for a while. And then the supervisor brought on his daughter. The daughter didn't really gel well with the pipeline survey job. She didn't want to crawl around in the weeds like us guys. She didn't want to get dirty.
No, she was much better suited to be a model.
Yeah, I was gonna say a secretary or a desk job. But yeah, she was a hot older teenage girl, and that's not my description. Her father would say that. Oh yeah, my daughter is so hot,
Yeah.
which was a little weird.
Wasn't there one point where she basically jumped into your lap because of a bug?
She was in the driver's seat of the car on her phone, and I was in the passenger seat of the vehicle, and she looked to her left and saw a giant cricket or a cockroach or something, and she panicked and threw herself on the other side of the vehicle and clambered over onto my side.
Fun.
Yeah. She was not an outdoorsy type of person. I don't know why her father thought it was a good fit.
I don't know. There weren't many employees, but there were some other. Oh my god. I forgot about Geoff.
I don't believe I was with you when you had Geoff on
You
the
may
team.
be wondering why I'm mispronouncing the name Jeff. Because his name was spelled Gehoff.
Geoff.
But he insisted that his name was pronounced Geoff.
Geoff.
He was a very weird man. His previous job was working at Burger King, and he was the most gormy, socially awkward motherfucker. And this is coming from me.
Yeah, well, this job is great for him then, because you rarely have to interact with people except when they yell at you for being in their yard.
Yeah, and he did not handle anyone taking any type of tone to him. Because he would just freak out and didn't understand what was happening. Anyway, I've blocked most of his memory from my mind.
Fair enough.
Probably for good reason.
Was I at that company long enough to earn my 1 week break? I think I just kind of gave up after 3 weeks. I think it was maybe a month at most that I spent there.
The time for me at that job has become incredibly dilated because of how long I spent working. So it made it seem longer than it probably actually was.
Yeah.
So we were doing a job, I think it was in Ohio.
Probably.
Well, this pipeline happened to go under what was basically like a preserve, so they weren't allowed to clear it. So we're basically stumbling through brush that is taller than we are. We're getting this weird pollen dust all over us.
Yeah, one day it was just a particularly bad day. You had been working for 5 weeks straight. You'd been working for, 13 hours a day, including all the paperwork.
Longer than that.
It was nonsense. It was obviously...
You were having one of the worst allergy attacks I've ever seen anyone have. I legitimately thought you might pass out. Because there was a point where you sneezed for, I am not fucking kidding, over a minute straight of sneezing.
I didn't realize my sinuses could hold that much mucus.
It was, your body was just taking any moisture it had and diverting it to mucus production. A minute doesn't seem that long until you do nothing but sneeze for 1 minute.
Yeah.
And then it is forever.
Yeah, so I was feeling overworked. I was watching you be even more overworked. They were, I think, actually cutting the amount of money we're getting for DM, so we actually had to spend our own money on food.
Yep, we were spending our own money on food.
You had walked through some poison ivy at one point and didn't realize it, but the poison ivy lotion wasn't even in the vehicle because the boss had taken it out of the car the previous night.
Yeah, and it's summer, so we're sweating like fucking crazy. I've got poison ivy on my hands, and I wipe the sweat out of my eyes, which means now I have poison ivy in my eyeballs. We get back up to the truck. My eyes are starting to like swell and have turned completely red. I look like I smoked all the marijuana in the world. My eyes are so red.
Yeah, bloodshot.
You drove back to the hotel. I basically had to take a shower in this poison ivy soap that was back at the hotel room.
What a nonsense day that was.
Oh, God, it sucked. That night, after I had like gotten all the poison ivy off me, you were like, I don't know if I can keep doing this job.
I hate this job.
And that was the point where I was like, oh, fuck, I think I hate this job.
Yeah.
I think I really hate this job. Like, and because I had basically, the only, like, good job I had up until that point was teaching small arms repair. So I'm just acclimatized to shit jobs.
You've had a lot of them. I had better experiences than you at that point, so even though I was having a better time than you because I didn't have to do paperwork for 2 hours a day, I still wasn't happy. The job was miserable.
I can't do this anymore. No, not even 2 weeks notice. I've been working 5 weeks.
You can't have a girlfriend or a wife if you're working 5 weeks out of every 6 weeks somewhere else.
I'm paying rent at my apartment and I'm not even there.
Yeah.
I'm not even there the majority of the time.
It was a terrible job, so we quit. And I never went back.
I wish I never went back.
Oh, you went back.
So I didn't have a job for like 2 or 3 weeks, and I was just like, oh shit, what the fuck am I gonna do? And the guy that had originally told me about the job was like, yeah, if you can come back, like, we really need help.
We can't actually afford any good employees, so can we have you back?
Fine, I'll come back.
Did they give you a better offer to entice you back, better pay?
No, I got paid less. Because I had quit before, and they weren't sure they could trust me.
You were desperate. They said they'd take you back at a reduced rate. You said, I guess
it's better than, because if you've ever been out of work and had to apply for jobs, it is the most demeaning thing ever. Especially if you're someone like me that graduated from college right around when the 2008 recession was really starting to happen, where it was just like impossible to find jobs. They just didn't need people. So I start working at the job again, and it sucks.
You went back.
And my friend was like, it's better now. It's a little bit better.
Yeah.
It's just, if you come back in 5 weeks, it's going to be winter, so we're going to be getting the salary for winter. Mm-hmm. So I came back, I worked there. 4 weeks in, we've decided we're not going to do salary anymore. We're going back to hourly pay.
And there's the burn.
Fucking what?
So all that money you were going to get over winter is gone now.
What about all that overtime that I worked like earlier in the year? Because you quit working for us, so you don't get that. What?
Yeah.
It's not financially responsible for us to do salary. Mm-hmm. Cool, I quit.
Yeah.
I quit.
They probably were banking on you guys to quit. They weren't ever going to pay you in the winter.
The other guy that was there, we both quit. We're just like, what? No, we're done. We're done. Like, this is insane. And you said that you don't trust me?
Yeah.
You don't trust me, so you're hiring me at a lower rate? Mm-hmm. Because I might quit again? Guess what? I fucking did.
Yeah.
Boy, I sure proved you right.
Mm-hmm. And now that we're older, we know all the things like, if they're going to change your employment contract, get it in writing.
Yeah. Don't just trust your employer to do what's right for you. On that topic of not trusting your employer, our friend Ryan, he worked for a dairy company for a while.
Okay.
He worked for them a long time, basically shipping milk. At one point, his Christmas bonus was he got 5 free gallons of milk.
Oh boy! I cannot drink 5 gallons of milk.
Oh, it's fine.
Bad.
It's coupons, so you can redeem them whenever.
Oh, see, no, okay, there's nothing to complain about.
Despite the fact that you work at a dairy plant and you can just grab a gallon of milk whenever you need one. Mm-hmm. At one point, when he was working there, and he was talking to the new employee, and the new employee was like, "Oh yeah, I'm getting paid X amount of dollars,"
and that was why more than he was being paid.
Yeah. So he basically was just like, yeah, I'm not doing any more work today until you pay me as much or more than he is getting paid.
Nice!
I'm not doing anything else.
Put your foot down!
I'm literally doing nothing else until you pay me as much or more than he's getting paid. Well, we'll have to talk to management about... Well, fine, then I'm not doing anything until then.
That is so commendable to stand your ground.
I wish I could have done that.
We took so much abuse because we were convinced that employers will have your best interest in mind.
Yeah, they care about you.
Yeah.
No, they don't.
Did they actually fire him there?
No, they actually gave him more money.
There you go.
It wasn't much, but it was more.
Uh-huh.
After I quit the pipeline survey job, I took a job working at a factory that produces the dyes they use to stamp out the body parts of cars.
Okay.
So I worked at a company that makes those things. And I was just doing custodial work at that job. Mm-hmm. The reason I ended up losing that job, not because it was absolutely god-awful.
No, because back then you would still put up with that stuff.
I was still putting up with it. I was like, I need to work, and yeah, it's only $10 an hour, but whatever, fuck it. I need money. If you missed a day of work during your probationary period, which was 180 days, you were fired. Zero tolerance policy.
And you missed a day?
I told them beforehand, I was like, hey, I need like this time off. Well, I don't know if we can do that. Like,
Yeah.
I have to leave. I have a doctor appointment. Let's not forget, I'm a veteran with PTSD, and I'm on brain pills, so I might just want to fucking murder myself. Maybe I'm having a real fucking bad time, man.
Yeah, I gave you forewarning. I'm not going to be here that day.
I'm not gonna be here that day. I have to be somewhere. Okay, so I talked to like 6 people up the chain of command, but I'm not gonna be here that day. Okay, we'll get it up. We'll get it figured out. We'll get it figured out. I'm not there that day. The next day I show up for work. You weren't here yesterday. Yeah, I said I was gonna be gone. Well, we have to let you go.
That was that.
Cool, great, thanks. Thanks for absolutely fucking nothing.
Yeah. I've told you about a lot of terrible jobs that I've had. From cheese recycler
Yep.
to injection molder. There was another job where I assembled mirrors. So I was working in a factory and we were assembling rear view mirrors
Yes.
for vehicles. And they told me, yeah, by the way, before you leave every day, look at this giant screen that has all of the shifts on it. Because if you're scheduled for overtime, we're not going to tell you. It's just going to be on that board.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I came in one day and they said, hey, you were scheduled for an extra 4 hours yesterday and you didn't show up 4 hours early. And I said, oh, sorry. I'm still, new here. I didn't know. I got fired.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course. Why? Why not? Why wouldn't they?
No.
You didn't show up.
They liked me so much, they promoted me, and then I made a simple mistake and they fired me.
Yeah.
Probationary periods are so fun.
Yeah, they're amazing and wonderful.
And then there was the time I worked for the furniture assembly factory.
I didn't know about this.
Oh, yes. I was assembling tables.
Oh, I do know about this job because I know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I worked at that job for a month. At the end of every shift, we have to clean the machine.
Yes.
At the end of one day, the machine was still running when I went to clean it out, and it chunked off a part of my finger. That was the day I learned about avulsions, which is different from amputations, because amputation implies precision. When your finger gets ripped apart, that's called an avulsion.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember you sending me pictures of your finger.
I still have those pictures saved.
Yeah, they're fucked up.
Yeah. I got a worksite injury. They asked me at the time, do you think you need an ambulance? And I'm sitting there on the ground covered in blood because my finger just got ripped apart. Yes?
I don't know.
You want me to make the decision? I'm basically in shock right now. Yes, get me to the hospital. Ambulance, sure. Looking back on it, it's not life-threatening. You could just take me there in a car.
Yeah.
But you asked me if I need an ambulance. Sure, give me an ambulance. I don't know, fix this. I don't know how bad it's going to be. I don't know if my life is going to be permanently altered from that point on.
Yeah, you basically just had 2 fingers sawn down on your dominant hand.
Yeah, you don't expect to look down and see part of your hand missing. It's shocking. They took me to the hospital, they checked me out, said, there's not much we can do, we'll bandage it, we'll change the bandages every day, and hope for the best. They did what they could, there wasn't much they could do. But after that, the company really didn't want to keep me around. So they started framing me for safety violations. They'd walk past a conveyor belt and say, hey, that safety isn't on. And it's like, I'm not the only one who uses this conveyor belt.
Yeah.
Like 4 or 5 other people use this conveyor belt. I engage the safety brake every time, but I can't ensure it stays locked because other people use it. This happened a couple times. They noticed a safety violation. They told me that it was my fault. They made me sign a piece of paper. But that was the 4th safety violation they'd written me up for, so they had total cause to let me go and deny me unemployment because it's all my fault.
Because you had safety violations.
If I had just not signed these pieces of paper, I would have had a better chance of getting unemployment.
You probably would have gotten fired, but you would have been able to collect unemployment because they fired you without cause.
The society we live in is so screwed up that even though I've had about 40 jobs at this point, I think I've collected unemployment maybe once in my entire life.
Yeah.
I know they make you fill out paperwork and show proof that you've actually been applying to jobs. It is such a hassle.
It is the biggest hassle because when I was on unemployment, I had to prove that I had applied for 8 jobs a week. And then I had to go to things where it's like, here's how you use the internet to apply for a job. And it's like a 6-hour course on how to use the internet to apply for a job. I know how to fucking do this. I know how to look for jobs. There's none available right now. Nobody is fucking hiring. Unless I want to get a job working at Walmart, getting paid $3 an hour.
Yeah, some bullshit like that.
Some fucking shit thing. And then it's like, anyway, I'm getting off topic.
There was one job I worked for, the plastic injection molding facility. I didn't like that job. It was a paycheck. It was flexible. I stayed with it. It was third shift, which sucked, but the supervisor was a fellow Marine, a great guy. I did Toys for Tots charity work with him. I liked him. He asked me to stay with the company a little longer. I said, okay, I'll do it for you. I do plan on leaving soon, but at your request, I will stay here for a few more months. And then he got let go because he wasn't meeting the quota or something that the company wanted.
Christ.
And when they did that, I put in my 2-week notice because I was only there at his request. But there were a couple other people that just quit outright, and I kind of wish I was with them.
Yeah.
Like, they blamed him for not being able to retain somebody on third shift at this stupid factory that doesn't pay well.
You legitimately didn't get paid enough to fix your car. And you would ride your bike to work, and there were times where your bike broke.
I forgot about that.
And you had to call me on a payphone to come pick you up.
I remember, this job that I worked at was a 10-minute drive away from where I lived. It was so convenient, 10 minutes of driving away. But at one point, my vehicle broke down. I didn't have the money to fix it, so I would bike to work and bike back. My 10-minute drive became a 60-minute bike ride.
Yeah.
But there were a couple times where my bike broke or had a flat or something, so I would walk. There was one time I was walking back and I had my thumb out. I was hitchhiking on my way back home.
Oh my God.
One time I actually had somebody stop by and let me ride with him. I asked him what his name was. I think his name was Wrench, I think he called himself. He was just covered in piercings and tattoos. Like,
damn.
Yeah, man, I used to hitchhike before. I know how it is. It's all good.
Damn, man.
Yeah.
When I was living in Virginia, I picked up hitchhikers once. I was driving somewhere, and there were 2 very attractive women sitting on the side of the road.
All right.
And they had a sign like going to Richmond or whatever.
This seems like a scam.
They were from Germany, and they're like, yeah, we need a ride to get to here or wherever. I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, I can give you a ride. So they come towards the car, and then 4 dudes come with them. The guys were sitting just out of sight by a park bench, and they were using the women as bait to lure unsuspecting men into giving them a ride somewhere. So I had 6 Germans crammed into my car.
I thought that story was going to take a different turn, like you were going to get mugged there. They actually wanted a ride.
No, they actually wanted a ride, but they were like, yeah, people won't stop if it's 4 guys.
That's fair. Yeah. That's a good story.
Because when I pulled over, they were like, yeah, we need, do you have room for 6 people in your car? And I was like, yeah, I do. And,
oh, you got 4 lady friends hiding in those bushes over there?
Oh boy, this will be fun.
One of the guys puts on some leggings and a high heel, sticks his leg out from the bush. Yeah, I got some friends over there, all right.
Oh, man. Yeah, they fucking conned me. It was fine, though.
Yeah.
We had a good laugh about it.
It's a con that everyone can enjoy.
I tried my really bad German at them, and they thought it was very funny.
Das ist ein Moron.
Mein deutsches Mittelmaßig.
Ah, yes.
And they thought that was really funny because they're like, how can you say you're German? You know the word for mediocre.
Yeah.
How can you say your German is mediocre? Can't say anything else. Oh, I can say, ich habe Käse in meinen Hosen. I have cheese in my pants.
And then they taught you how to say, don't shoot, I surrender.